Yes, indeed. My sister Martha and I have been talking all week about your sermon last Sunday. It's really wonderful, Dr. Harper. In only 2 short years, you've taken on the spirit of Brooklyn.
That's very gratifying, Miss Brewster.
You see, living here next to the church all our lives, we've seen so many ministers come and go. And the spirit of Brooklyn, we always say, is friendliness. And your sermons are not so much sermons as friendly talks.
Personally, I've always enjoyed my talks with Cardinal Gibbons. Or have I met him yet?
No, dear, not yet. Are the biscuits good?
Bully.
Another biscuit, Dr. Harper?
No. I'm afraid I'll have no appetite for dinner now. I always eat too many of your biscuits just to taste that lovely jam.
Oh, but you haven't tried the quince. We put a little apple in with it to take the tartness out.
No, thank you.
Well, we'll send you over a jar.
No. You keep it here, so I can be sure of having your biscuits with it.
Oh, I do hope they don't make us use that imitation flour again. I mean, with all this war trouble. Now, it may not be very charitable of me, but I'm beginning to think that this Mr. Hitler isn't a Christian.
If only Europe were on another planet.
Europe, sir?
Yes, Teddy?
Point your gun the other direction.
Gun?
Teddy.
To the west. There's your danger. There's your enemy. Japan.
Why, yes. Yes, of course.
Now, Teddy.
Not now, Aunt Abby. Not so much of this talk of Europe and more about the canal.
Well, let's not talk about war. Would you like some more tea, dear?
No, thank you, Aunt Abby.
Dr. Harper?
No, thank you. But I must admit, Warren Brown seemed far removed from these surroundings.
Yes, it is peaceful here, isn't it?
Yes, peaceful. The virtues of another day. They're all here in this house. The gentle virtues that want candlelight, good manners, and low taxes.
Well, it's one of the oldest houses in Brooklyn, just as it was when Grandfather Brewster built and furnished it. Oh, except for the electricity. It was Mortimer who persuaded us to put it in.
Yes, I know your nephew Mortimer seems to only live by electric light.
Oh, the poor boy has to work so late. After they made him take this terrible night position.
My.
Yes.
He's taking Elaine to the theater tonight?
Oh, yes, that's what I heard.
It's a new experience for me to have to wait up till 3 o'clock in the morning for my daughter to be brought home.
Oh, I do hope you don't disapprove of Mortimer.
Well,
Sister Martha and I would feel so guilty if you did, since it was here, in our home, that Mortimer met Elaine.
and so I'll immediately say that I believe Mortimer himself to be quite a worthy gentleman. But I must also admit, Abby, for one reason.
His stomach, Dr. Harper?
Stomach?
Oh, yes, his dyspepsia. He's bothered with it, so.
No, Miss Abby, I'll be frank with you. I'm speaking of your nephew's unfortunate connection with the theater.
Oh, the theater? No. Mortimer writes for a New York newspaper.
Really?
Yes, he writes awful things about the theater.
Oh my.
Why, Mortimer hates the theater. He says it should only last another year or two. Yes, Oh, Officer Brooks, come in.
Hello, Mrs. Brewster.
How are you, Officer Klein?
What news have you brought me?
Colonel, we have nothing to report.
Splendid, gentlemen. At ease.
You know Dr. Harper?
Sure. Hello, Dr. Harper. We come to get the toys for the Christmas fund?
Oh, yes.
That's splendid work you gentlemen do, fixing up discarded toys to give poor children a happier Christmas.
Well, you know, it gives us something to do when we're sitting around the station. You get tired playing cards and you start cleaning your gun and, well, you shot yourself in the foot.
Teddy, why don't you go up to your Aunt Martha's room and get the big box of toys?
Charge!
Oh, how is Mr. Brophy?
He has bronchitis.
I'm sorry to hear that.
Well, I'll go get you some beef broth to take to him.
Don't bother, Miss Abby. You've done so much for him already.
Oh, it's no problem. We made it this morning. Sister Martha's over taking some to Mr. Benitsky right now.
She shouldn't go through all that trouble.
Try to stop her sister from doing something nice. And for nothing. They don't even care how you vote.
Yes. When I received my call from Brooklyn and moved next door, my husband was, well, he died, and for months before, well, if I know what pure kindness and generosity are, it's because I've met the Brewster sisters.
Colonel, you promised not to do that? He used to do that in the middle of the night. The neighbors raised Cain with us. They're a little afraid of him anyway.
He's quite harmless.
Well, at least he does think he's Teddy Roosevelt. There's a lot worse people he could think he was.
Darn shame a nice family like this to hatch a cuckoo.
Well, his father, the old girl's brother, I heard he was a genius. But their grandfather, He was a bit crazy.
Yeah, crazy like a fox, but made $1 million.
Really? Here in Brooklyn?
Yeah, patent medicine. Old Sergeant Edwards remembers him. He used his house here as a clinic, tried him out on people.
Yeah, he made mistakes occasionally too.
Yeah, the department never bothered him much. He was pretty useful in autopsies, especially poison cases.
Well, whatever he did, he left his daughter 6 for life. Thank God for that.
Not that they would use any of the money on themselves.
Yes, I'm very well acquainted with their charities.
Listen, you don't know the 10th of it. When I was with the Missing Persons Bureau, we were trying to trace an old man who we never did find. But, well, hold on. A renting agency has this place up for renting rooms. They don't rent rooms, but whoever comes here looking for a room probably goes away with a good meal and a few dollars in their kick.
Guess that's their way of digging up people some good.
Well now, isn't this nice?
Good afternoon, Mrs. Brewster.
Good afternoon, Officer Klein, Officer Brophy, Dr. Harper.
How are you, Mrs. Brewster? We came to pick up the Christmas toys.
Oh yes, Teddy's Army and Navy, they wear out. They're all packed. Let me run up and get them.
The colonel's upstairs after him. It seems the cabinet has to okay it first.
Oh, of course. How is Mr. Brophy?
He's doing fine, ma'am. Your sister's getting some broth for me to take to him.
Oh, we made it this morning. I just took some to a man who broke ever so many bones.
Oh, Martha, you're back. How is Mr. Benitsky?
Well, dear, I'm afraid he's not doing so well. The doctor was in, and he says he has to amputate in the morning.
Well, can we be present?
Oh, no. I asked. He said it's against the rules of a hospital.
Oh, you must spare yourself something.
Oh, here's the broth. Make sure it's good and hot.
Yes, ma'am.
This will be great. That O'Malley boy does like soldiers.
That's General Miles. I retired him. What's this, the organ?
Oh, Teddy, dear.
But I've given my word to fighting Timmy Horton.
Teddy, dear.
No,
What does it matter what kid gets it? Bobby Evans, Timmy Horton? Well, this is great. It'll make a lot of kids happy. Thank you very much. We'll be going.
it's no problem at all.
Charge the blockhouse!
The blockhouse?
The stairs are always San Juan Hill.
Have you ever tried to persuade him that he wasn't Teddy Roosevelt?
Oh, no.
He's so happy being Teddy Roosevelt.
Well, once, a long time ago, remember, Martha? We thought that maybe if he were George Washington, it might be a change for him. But,
He stayed under his bed for days and just wouldn't be anybody at all.
and we'd so much rather he be Mr. Roosevelt than nobody at all.
Well, what's important, he's happy, and what's important, you're happy. You'll see that he signs these.
What are they?
Dr. Harper has made all arrangements for Teddy to go to Happydale Sanitarium after we pass on.
But why should he sign anything now?
It's better to have it all settled. If the Lord would take you away suddenly, perhaps we wouldn't be able to persuade Teddy to commit himself. And that would leave us with a very unpleasant legal procedure. Well,
Before you go, Dr. Harper.
oh, and Mrs. Witherspoon knows that we filed away until the time comes.
Mrs. Witherspoon, who's she?
She's the superintendent of Happydale.
Dr. Harper has made arrangements for her to drop in tomorrow or the next day.
I should really get going. Elaine will be over here looking for me.
Well, give our love to Elaine. And Dr. Harper, please don't think harshly of Mortimer because he's a dramatic critic. Somebody has to do those things.
Abby? Tea? Isn't it rather late?
Yes, and dinner's going to be late too.
So, why?
Teddy, there's good news for you. You're going to go to Panama to dig another lock for the canal.
Delighted! Bully, just bully! I shall prepare for the journey at once. Charge!
But while I was out?
Oh yes, I didn't know when you'd be back, and Dr. Harper was coming.
Well, I'll just run down and see.
Oh, Martha, there wasn't time.
Well,
Just look in the window seat. Oh, come in, Elaine.
Good afternoon, Miss Abby. Good afternoon, Miss Martha. I thought Mother was here.
no, she just this minute left. Didn't you see her?
No, I took the shortcut through the cemetery.
Well,
Mortimer hasn't come yet?
no, dear, not yet.
Oh, he asked me to meet him here. Do you mind if I wait?
Not at all.
Come on, sit down, sit down.
We really ought to speak to Mortimer about doing this to you.
Doing what?
He was brought up to know better. When a gentleman is taking a young lady out, he should call for her at her house first.
Oh, there's something about calling for a girl at a parsonage that discourages any man who doesn't embroider.
Well, we really must speak to him about this.
Oh, please don't. After young men whose idea of nightlife is to take me to prayer meeting, it's wonderful to go to the theater almost every night of my life.
Oh, it's comforting to us too, dear, because if he has to go and see some of those plays he has to see, at least he's sitting next to a minister's daughter.
Oh my goodness, Elaine, what you must think of us, not having tea cleared away by this time.
Abby, don't bother with anything in the kitchen until Mortimer gets here. Then I'll come in and I'll help you. He should be here any minute now.
Yes, Mother must have been surprised not to find me at home. I'd better run over and speak to her.
I'm sorry you missed her, dear.
If Mortimer comes, you tell him I'll be right back. Oh, hello, Mort.
Hello, Elaine. Hello, Aunt Martha.
Abby, Mortimer's here.
Were you going somewhere?
I was running over to tell Mother not to wait up for me tonight.
I didn't know that was still being done, even in Brooklyn.
Oh, hello, Mortimer.
Hello, Aunt Abby.
How are you, dear?
All right. You look well. You haven't changed much since yesterday.
Oh my, it was yesterday, wasn't it? We're seeing a great deal of you lately, Mortimer. Come, sit down.
Abby, will you help me with things in the kitchen? You know, the tea thing?
Oh, yes, the tea things. Well, you two just make yourselves at home. Just
Make yourselves at home.
Well, can't you take a hint?
No, that was pretty obvious. A lack of inventiveness, I'd say.
Yes, that's exactly what you'd say.
Where do you want to go to dinner?
I don't care, I'm not very hungry.
Well, I just had breakfast. Suppose we wait until after the show?
But that'll make it pretty late, won't it?
Not with the little stinker we're seeing tonight. From what I've heard, we'll be at Blake's by 10 o'clock.
You ought to be fair to these plays.
Are these plays fair to me?
I've never seen you walk out on a musical.
The musical's not opening tonight.
No?
You'll have to learn the rules. With a musical, there are always 4 changes in title and 3 postponements. They liked it in New Haven, but it needs a lot of work.
Oh, I was hoping it was a musical.
You have such a light mind.
Not a bit. Musicals somehow have a humanizing effect on you. After a serious play, we joined the proletariat in the subway and I listened to a lecture on the drama. After a musical, you take me home in a taxi and make a few passes.
Now, darling, that's a very inaccurate piece of reporting.
Oh, I will admit that after the Behrman play, you told me I had authentic beauty, and that's a heck of a thing to say to a girl. It wasn't until after our first musical that you told me I have nice legs, and I have, too.
For a minister's daughter, you sure do know a lot about life. Where'd you learn it?
In the choir loft.
Oh, I'll have to explain that to you sometime, darling. The close connection between eroticism and religion.
Religion never gets as high as the choir loft. Which reminds me, I'd better run over and tell Mother not to wait up for me tonight.
I was never able to rationalize it.
What?
My falling in love with a girl from Brooklyn.
Falling in love? You're not stooping to the articulate, are you?
I just thought the only way I can regain my self-respect is to keep you in New York.
Did you say keep?
No. I've just come to the conclusion that you're holding out for the legalities.
I can afford to be a good girl for quite a few years yet.
And I can't wait that long. Where do you suppose we can get married in a hurry? Say tonight?
I'm afraid Mother will insist on officiating.
Oh, I bet even your mother can make the marriage service sound pedestrian.
Are you by any chance writing a review of it?
Forgive me, darling. It's an occupational disease. You know, you better tell your father not to wait up tonight.
I think tonight I'd better tell her to wait up.
I'll telephone Winchell to publish the bands.
Nevertheless...
All right, everything formal and legal, but no later than next month.
Oh, darling, I'll talk it over with Mother and set the date.
No, we'll have to see what's in rehearsal. There'll be plenty of other first nights in October.
Hello, Mortimer.
How are you, Mr. President?
Very well. What news have you brought me?
Just this. The country is squarely behind you.
Splendid. Isn't it wonderful? Well, goodbye. Goodbye.
Where are you off to, Teddy?
Panama!
Panama's the cellar. He digs locks for the canal down there.
You're so sweet with him, and he's awful fond of you.
Yeah, Teddy was always my favorite brother.
Favorite? Were there more of you?
Yeah, there's another. Jonathan.
Jonathan? Your aunts never mention him. I've never heard of him.
No, we really don't like to talk about Jonathan. You see, he left Brooklyn very early, by request. He was the type of boy who liked to cut worms in two, with his teeth.
What became of him?
I don't know. He wanted to become a surgeon like grandfather, but he wouldn't go to medical school first, and his practice got him in trouble.
Well, aren't you two going to be late to the theater?
Nah, we're not going to dinner. We won't have to leave for a half hour.
Well, I'll leave you alone together again.
Oh, don't worry, darling. I need to run over and speak to Mother. Before I go out with you, she likes to pray over me a little. I'll be right back. I'll cut through the cemetery.
If the prayer isn't too long, I'll have time to lead you beside still waters.
Why, Mortimer, that's the first time I've ever heard you quote the Bible. We knew Elaine would be a good influence for you.
And by the way, I'm gonna marry her.
What? Oh, darling. Martha, get in here. I've got the most wonderful news. Mortimer and Elaine are going to be married.
Married? Oh, Mortimer.
We hoped it would happen just like this.
Elaine must be the happiest girl in the world.
Happy? Just look at her leaping over those gravestones. What's that?
What's what, dear?
That over there. That statue. That's a Hermdina Carina.
No, dear, that's Emma B. Stout ascending to heaven.
No, not Mrs. Stout. On her left ear. That's a red-crested swallow. I've only seen one before in my life.
Well, I don't know how you can be thinking about birds at a time like this. I mean, with the engagements and everything.
It's a vanishing species. Thoreau was very fond of them. By the way, I left a large envelope here last week. There's a chapter from my book on Thoreau. Have you seen it?
No, dear, but if you left it here, it has to be around here somewhere.
Isn't there more you can tell us about the engagement? What about Elaine?
Elaine? Oh, she thought it was brilliant.
What was, dear?
My chapter on Thoreau.
Well, I think when Elaine comes back, we ought to have a little celebration. We must drink to your happiness. Martha, is there any more of that Lady Baltimore cake left?
Oh, yes.
And I'll open a bottle of wine.
Oh, and to think it happened in this room.
Where can I put that?
Well, I hope with your fiancé sitting beside you tonight, the play can be something you can enjoy for once. Oh, it may be something romantic. What's the name of it?
Murder Will Out.
Oh, dear.
The first thing you see when the curtain goes up will be a dead body. Aunt Abby!
Yes, dear?
You're going to make plans for Teddy to go to that sanitarium, Happydale.
Yes, Dr. Harper was here today with the papers for him to sign.
He's got to sign them now.
Well, that's what Dr. Harper thinks. Then there won't be any trouble after we pass on.
Teddy's down in the cellar. Get him up here.
There's no such hurry as that.
Oh, no. Once Teddy's got his mind on the cellar, that you can't get his mind on anything else.
He's got to sign them now, tonight.
Nonsense, dear.
Well, I'm frightfully sorry, but I have some shocking news. You see, we already sort of humored Teddy because we thought he was harmless.
Why, he is harmless.
He was harmless. That's why he has to go to Happydale. That's why he has to be confined.
Mortimer, what has gotten into you?
Well, you're going to find out sometime. It might as well be now. Teddy, he's killed a man.
Oh, nonsense, dear.
But there's a body in the window seat.
Oh, yes, dear. We know.
You know?
Yes, dear, but it has nothing to do with Teddy.
Well, who is he?
Well, his name's Hoskins, Adam Hoskins. That's really all I know about him.
That's all you know about him?
Well, except that he's a Methodist.
Well, how'd he get here? What happened to him?
He died.
Aunt Martha, men don't just crawl into window seats and die.
Oh, no, he died first.
Well, how did he die?
Oh, Mortimer, don't be so inquisitive. The gentleman died because he drank some wine with poison in it.
Well, how did the poison get in the wine?
We put it in the wine because it's less noticeable. When it's in tea, it has a distinct odor.
You put it in the wine?
Oh, yes, and I put Mr. Hoskins in the window seat.
So, you knew what you've done. You didn't want Dr. Harper to see the body.
Well, no, dear, not at tea. That wouldn't be very nice. Now, Mortimer, you know the whole thing. Just forget about it.
Forget?
Yes, we never dreamed you'd peek.
But Mr. Hotchkiss.
Hoskins, dear.
Well, whatever his name is, you can't just leave him there.
We don't intend to, dear.
No, Teddy's down in the cellar now, digging a lock.
You mean you're going to bury Mr. Hotchkiss in the cellar?
Yes, dear, that's what we did with the others.
No, you can't bury Others?
Yes, the other gentleman.
When you say others, you mean others like more than one others?
Yes, dear. This is 11, isn't it?
No, dear. This makes 12.
I'm not so sure, Abby. I think this is only 11.
No, it's 12 because when Mr. Hoskins first came in, it occurred to me that he would make an even dozen.
I don't think we should count the first one.
Well, I was counting the first one, so that makes it 12. What?
Hello? Al? Do you know who this is? Well, of course you called me, right? Well, when I left the office, I told you where I was going, right? Yeah, and it'd take me about a half hour to get to Brooklyn. Uh-huh. So what time you got? Yeah, that's right. I must be here. What are we gonna do?
What are we going to do about what, dear?
The 12!
Well, dear, we weren't really going to count the first one, but Abby and I discussed it, and we think we should count the first one.
Well, who was the first one?
Mr. Midgley, he was a Baptist.
But I'm not so sure we should claim him because he just died.
Well, Martha means without any help from us. You see, Mr. Midgley came here looking for a room,
It was right after you moved to New York.
and it didn't seem right for those lovely rooms to be going to waste when there were so many people who needed them.
He was such a lonely old man.
All his kith and kin were dead, and it left him so forlorn and unhappy.
We felt so sorry for him.
So, when his heart attack came, and he sat dead in that chair, looking so peaceful, remember, Martha? We made up our minds then and there that if we could help other lonely old men to the same peace, we would.
So he died right in that chair. How awful for you.
Oh no, dear. Remember, grandfather used to have a cadaver or two around the house, and Teddy was digging in Panama, so he thought Mr. Midgley was a yellow fever victim.
Which meant he had to be buried immediately.
So that's how all this started? A man just walking in and dropping dead?
Yes, dear, but we knew we couldn't depend on that happening again. So,
You remember the poisons up in grandfather's laboratory all those years?
and you know your Aunt Martha's knack for mixing things. You've eaten enough of her piccalilli.
So for a gallon of elderberry wine, I take 1 teaspoon of arsenic, half a teaspoon of strychnine, and just a pinch of cyanide.
Well, that should have quite a kick.
Oh, yes, even one of our gentlemen found time to say, how delicious.
Well, I really ought to get things started in the kitchen.
Well, I'll be in a minute, dear. Oh, you have to wait for Elaine, don't you? How happy you must be. Well, I'll leave you alone to your thoughts.
Oh, it's you.
Don't be cross, darling. Mother could see that I was excited, so that made it hard for me to get away. But listen, darling, she's not going to wait up for me tonight.
You run along home, Elaine. I'll call you up tomorrow.
Tomorrow?
You know I always call you up every day or two.
But we're going to the theater tonight.
No, we're not.
Well, why not?
Something's come up.
What, Mortimer? You've lost your job?
No, I haven't lost my job. I'm just not covering the play tonight. Now, will you run along home, Elaine?
But I've got to know what's happened. Certainly you can tell me.
I can't.
But if we're going to be married,
Married?
have you forgotten that not 15 minutes ago you proposed to me?
I did? Oh, yeah, well, as far as I know, that's still on. Now you run along home, Elaine.
Listen, you can't propose to me 1 minute and throw me out of the house the next.
I'm not throwing you out of the house. Now, will you get the hell out of here?
No, I won't. Not until I've had some sort of explanation.
No, don't sit there. Don't. Hello? Al? Yeah? Can you hold on a minute? All right, but it's important. No, just wait. Look, Elaine, you're the sweetest girl, and I love you very much, but I have a lot on my mind. And just wait until I call you tomorrow.
Don't try to be masterful.
When we're married, and I have problems to face on my own, I hope you're less tedious and uninspired.
And when we're married, if we're married, I hope I find you adequate.
You went. Hello? Al? Hello? Oh, Al. Hello?
No, dear, that's the doorbell, not the telephone. Come in.
I understand you have a room tonight.
Yes, won't you step in?
Are you the lady of the house?
Yes, I'm Miss Brewster. This is my sister, another Miss Brewster.
My name's Gibbs. Would you mind if I looked around?
Not at all.
Hello? Let me talk to Al again. Hello? Al? City desk? What? Oh, sorry. Wrong number.
May I see the room?
Well, why don't you sit down and let's get acquainted first.
Now, why would I do that if I don't like the room?
Is Brooklyn your home?
Ain't got a home. Live in a hotel. Don't like it.
Hello? City desk?
Are your family Brooklyn people?
Ain't got no family. I'm all alone in the world.
Alone in the world?
Yeah.
Well, Martha, you've come to just the right home.
Hello, Al. Mort. We got cut off. I can't cover the play tonight. That's all there is to it.
Is there really always this much noise?
Oh, he doesn't live with us.
There must be somebody around the place. Look, Al, how about the office boy? You know, the bright one? The one we don't like? Yeah, well, you look around, see if he can go.
You know, I'd really like to see the room.
Well, why don't you just try some of our wine first?
Never touch it.
We make it ourselves. It's elderberry.
Oh, since it's elderberry, I haven't had that since I was a young boy. Thank you.
Well, there must be some printers around. What about the fellow who sets my copy? He'd ought to know what I'd write about. His name's Joe. He's the third printer from the left. But Al, he might turn out to be another Burns Mantle.
Do you guys grow your own elderberry bushes?
No, but the cemetery's full of them.
No, I'm not drinking, but I'm about to start now.
Do you serve meals?
Well, we might.
Mortimer?
Mortimer, not that.
Get out of here! Do you want to be poisoned? Do you want to be killed? Do you want to be murdered?
Now, Mortimer, you have spoiled everything.
You can't do things like that. How can I explain to you this? It's not only the wrong thing to do, it's not nice. Nobody would understand. He wouldn't understand.
Abby, I don't think we should have told Mortimer.
What I'm trying to say is this has developed into a very bad habit.
Mortimer, we don't try to stop you from doing things you like to do, so why should you try to stop us?
Hello? Oh, hey, Al. Yep, okay. I'll go to the first act and I'll pan the hell out of there. You gotta do something for me. Get a hold of George. No, not George. Get a hold of O'Brien. Yeah, get a hold of O'Brien, our lawyer and head of our legal department, and have them meet me at the theater. All right, I'm on my way. Listen, aunties, I gotta go to the theater. I can't get out of it. But before I go, will you promise me something?
Well, we'll have to know what it is first.
I love you both very much, and I know you love me, and you know I'd do anything for you. So I just want you to do this little thing for me.
Well, what is it?
Don't do anything. I mean, don't do anything. Don't leave this house and leave Mr. Hoskins right where he is.
But we planned on holding services for Mr. Hoskins before dinner.
Services?
Yes, you don't expect us to bury him without a full Methodist funeral while he was Methodist.
But can it wait until I get back?
Oh, yes, then you could join us. Oh, Mortimer, you'll love the services, especially the hymns. Remember how beautifully Mortimer used to sing in the choir before his voice changed?
Well, I gotta go. There's a man I got to see. Do you have some paper?
Well, here's some stationery. Will this do?
Yeah, that's fine. I can save some time if I write my review on the way to the theater.
Abby, Mortimer hasn't been himself lately.
No, and I think I know why.
Why?
Well, he's just been engaged to be married. I think that makes any man nervous.
Oh, Elaine must be so happy, and their honeymoon ought to give him a vacation. I don't think he got much rest this summer.
Well, at least he didn't go kiting to China or Spain.
I can never understand why he would go to those places.
Well, I think to Mortimer, the theater has always been pretty small potatoes. He needs something bigger to criticize, something like the human race.
Oh, Abby, if Mortimer's going to join us, I ought to run up to my room and get the extra hymn.
Oh, by the way, I think you should read the services tonight.
Are you sure?
Oh, yes, it's only fair.
Oh, thank you. I think I'm going to wear my black bombazine and Mother's brooch. Oh, Abby, remember, we told Mortimer we wouldn't let anyone in.
Well, who do you suppose it is?
I'll look. It's two men. I've never seen them before in my life.
Are you sure?
There's a black car by the curb. I think they came in that.
Well, let me take a look. They're strangers to me.
Well, let's pretend like we're not home.
Come in, Doctor. This is the home of my youth. As a boy, I couldn't wait to escape from this place. Now I'm glad to escape back into it.
Yeah, Johnny, it's a fine hideout.
The family must still live here. There's something unmistakably Brewster about the Brewsters. I hope there's a fatted calf awaiting the return of the prodigal.
Yeah, I'm hungry. Look, Johnny, drinks.
As though we were expected. A good omen.
Who are you? What are you doing here?
Aunt Abby, Aunt Martha, it's your nephew Jonathan.
You get out of here.
But I'm your nephew Jonathan.
You don't look like Jonathan, so don't pretend you are.
But I am your nephew Jonathan. And this is Dr. Einstein.
That's certainly not Dr. Einstein either.
Not Dr. Albert Einstein, Dr. Herman Einstein.
Well, have you been in an accident?
No, my face. That's Dr. Einstein's work. He's a plastic surgeon. He changes people's faces.
I've seen that face before. Remember, Abby, when we took the little Schwartz boy to the movies? It was that face.
Easy, Johnny, easy. Don't worry, ladies. The last 5 years I give Johnny 3 new faces. This last one, well, I saw that picture too, just before I operate. And I was intoxicated.
You see what you've done to me, doctor? Even my own family.
Johnny, you're home, in this lovely house. How often he tells me about Brooklyn, about this house, about his aunts that he loves so much. They know you, Johnny. You know it's Jonathan. Speak to him. Tell him so.
Well, Jonathan, if it is you, what have you been up to all these years?
Yes. Where have you been?
Oh, Australia, England. The last 5 years, Chicago.
Oh, Chicago. We were in Chicago too, for the World's Fair.
We found Chicago awfully warm.
Yeah, it got hot for us too.
Well, my dear aunts, it's lovely to be back in Brooklyn.
We mustn't let what's on the stove boil over.
Yes, please excuse us, unless if you're in a hurry.
Well, Johnny, where do we go from here? We got to think fast. The police. The police have got pictures of that face. I got to operate on you right away. We got to find a place for that. And for Mr. Spinalzo, too.
Forget about that rat.
But, Johnny, we got the hot stiff on our hands.
Forget Mr. Spinalzo.
But you can't leave a dead body in the rumble seat. He gives us a lift, and what happens?
He said I look like Boris Karloff. That's your work, doctor. You did that to me.
Now, Johnny, we find a place somewhere. I fix you up quick.
Tonight.
Johnny, I got to eat first. I'm hungry. I'm weak.
Well, Jonathan, we're glad you've come to say hello, but you were never happy in this house, and we were never happy with you in it, so we've just come to say goodbye.
Well, I can't say your feeling towards me comes as a surprise. I spent many hours regretting the many heartaches it must have caused you as a boy.
Yes, you were quite a trial to us, Jonathan.
But my deepest regret is for dear Dr. Einstein. You see, I promised him that no matter how hurried we were in traveling through Brooklyn, I'd get him one of Martha's delicious home-cooked dinners.
Oh.
Well, I'm sorry, there just wouldn't be enough.
Abby, it's a pretty big size pot roast.
Pot roast.
I think the least we should do is
We'll stay to dinner.
We'll hurry things in the kitchen.
Oh, Jonathan, if you want to freshen up, Grandfather's washroom is in his laboratory.
Is that still there?
Oh, yes.
Well, we get a meal anyway.
Grandfather's laboratory. And just as it was, Doctor, a perfect operating room.
Too bad we can't use it.
Well, we can make a fortune here. That large ward in the attic, 10 beds, and Brooklyn is crying for your talents.
Why work yourself up, Johnny? Anyway, for Brooklyn, I think we're a year too late.
You'd be surprised. Practically everyone in Brooklyn could use a new face.
But so many of the old faces are locked up.
A very small percentage. And the boys in Brooklyn are famous for paying generously to stay out of jail.
Take it easy, Johnny. Your aunts, they don't want us here.
We're here for dinner, aren't we?
Yeah, but after dinner?
Don't worry about it. I'll make this our headquarters for years.
Oh, that would be beautiful. This nice, quiet house, those aunts of yours, what sweet ladies. I love them already. I get the bags, yeah?
Doctor, you must be invited first.
But you just said that.
We'll be invited.
And if they say no?
Doctor, two helpless old women.
It's like comes through a beautiful dream. Only I hope you're not dreaming. It's so peaceful.
That's what makes it so perfect. It's so peaceful. Yes, aunties, those 5 years in Chicago were amongst the busiest and happiest of my life.
And from Chicago, we go to South Bend, Indiana.
They wouldn't be interested in our business in Indiana.
Well, Jonathan, I'm sure you've led a very interesting life, but we really shouldn't have allowed you to talk so late.
You know, my meeting Dr. Einstein must have changed the whole outcourse of my life. You remember I was in South Bend, the diamond business, then Amsterdam, the diamond market. I wanted to go back to South Africa, and Dr. Einstein made it possible for me.
A good job, Tawny. When we take off the bandages, his face looks so different. The nurse had to introduce me.
I still carry the picture around with me.
Well, this looks more the way you used to look, but still, I wouldn't recognize you.
I think we'll go back to that face.
Yeah, it's safe now.
Well, Jonathan, I'm sure you both want to get to where you're going.
Aunt Abby, I'm so full of this delicious dinner, I wasn't able to move a muscle.
Yeah, it's nice here.
Oh, well, I think we all ought to be off to bed.
I found it.
What did you find, Teddy?
The story of my life, my biography. Here's the picture I was telling you about. Here we are, Doctor. President Roosevelt and General Goethals working on Calibra's cut.
My, how I've changed.
Well, you see, that picture actually hasn't been taken yet. We haven't even started to work on Calibra's cut. We're still digging locks on the canal. And now, General, I demand that you accompany me to inspect the new locks.
Teddy, I think it's time you went to bed.
I beg your pardon, who is this?
I'm Woodrow Wilson. Go to bed.
You're not Wilson, but your face looks familiar. Perhaps I haven't met you yet. You look like someone I might meet in the jungle. Ah, yes, Africa.
It's your brother Jonathan, dear.
He's had his face changed.
What? A nature faker?
Well, perhaps you had better go to bed, Teddy. Jonathan and his friend need to go back to the hotel.
General Goethals, inspect the canal.
All right, Mr. President, we go to Panama.
Bully, follow me, General. It's down south, you know.
Well, bon voyage.
Aunt Abby, I must correct your misapprehension. You spoke of our hotel, but we have no hotel. We came directly here.
Well, there's a little hotel just a few blocks down.
Aunt Martha, this is my home.
Jonathan, I'm afraid you can't stay here. We need our rooms.
You need them?
Yes, for our lodgers.
Are there lodgers in this house?
Oh, not yet, but we plan to have some soon.
Then my room is still free.
Well, I'm afraid there wouldn't be anywhere for Dr. Einstein.
He'll room with me.
No, Jonathan, I'm afraid you can't stay here.
You remember earlier that I could be very disagreeable as a boy.
I think we ought to let them stay.
Well, just for tonight.
Get my room ready immediately.
It only needs airing out.
Yes, I think you and Dr. Einstein will find it quite comfortable.
You have a most distinguished guest in Dr. Einstein. I'm afraid you don't appreciate his skill, but you will. In a few weeks, you'll be looking at a very different Jonathan.
He can't operate on you here.
When we resume practice... Oh, I forgot to tell you. We're turning grandfather's laboratory into an operating room.
Oh, Jonathan, we will not let you turn this house into a hospital.
A hospital? Heavens no. This will be a beauty parlor.
Hey, Johnny, down in the cellar.
My aunts have invited us to live with them.
Oh, you fixed it?
Well, you're staying here tonight.
Get my room ready immediately.
Well, for tonight.
Johnny, when I go down in the cellar, what do you think I find?
What?
The Panama Canal.
The Panama Canal?
It's a hole Teddy dug that just fits Mr. Spinalzo, 6 feet long and 4 feet wide.
Down there?
You'd think they knew we were bringing Mr. Spinalzo along. That's hospitality.
A good joke on my aunt's part. They don't know they'll be living with a body buried in the cellar.
How do we get him in?
You're right. We can't bring him through the front door. We'll drive the car around, and when my aunts have gone to bed, we'll bring him in through the window.
Bed? Just think, we've got a bed tonight.
Easy, Doctor. Remember you're operating tomorrow, and this time you better be sober.
I fixed you up beautiful.
And if you don't,
Jonathan, your room is ready.
we're bringing the car around the house.
Well, it'll be fine where it is until morning.
I don't want to leave it in the street. That might be against the law.
Abby, what are we going to do?
Well, we're not going to let them stay in this house more than one night, for one thing. What would the neighbors think? People coming in with one face and leaving with another.
Abby, what are we going to do about Mr. Hoskins?
Oh, that's right. It can't be very comfortable for him in there, poor dear. Yes, I think we better get him to Panama right away.
General Goethals was very pleased with the canal. He said it was just the right size.
Teddy, there's good news for you. There's been another yellow fever victim.
Well, this will be a shock to the General.
Then we mustn't tell him.
But it's his department.
Oh no, Teddy, we mustn't tell him. It would just spoil his visit.
I'm sorry, Aunt Abby, it's out of my hands. Army regulations, you know.
Well, we must keep it a secret.
You mean a state secret?
Yes, a state secret.
You have the word of the president. Cross my heart and hope to die. Where is the poor devil?
He's in the window seat.
The window seat? Dear me, it must be spreading. You've never had a victim there before.
Well, when we turn out the lights tonight, and Jonathan and his friend have gone to bed, you come down and get the poor man.
We'll be ready in a little bit. We're going to go up and get changed and get ready for the funeral.
You may announce the President of the United States will say a few words.
haven't seen Mr. Hoskins yet.
Oh, that's right, dear. You weren't here. Well, why don't you just take a look? He's really very good looking, considering he's a Methodist.
We're bringing the luggage in through here.
Well, Jonathan, your room is ready. You can go right up.
I'm afraid we don't keep Brooklyn hours. You two can go to bed.
We don't plan to go until later.
It's time I came home to take care of you. The luggage, the instruments can go upstairs in the morning. Run along, Aunt Martha. One more flight, Doctor.
Well, you go on up, and I'll turn out the lights.
Now, Aunt Abby. Aunt Abby, turn out the lights.
All right, Johnny.
Doctor, you go to the window and hand him through.
He's too heavy for me. You go outside and push, I stay here and pull. Then together we get him down to Panama.
All right, I'll check around the house, and when I knock on the window, you open it and let me through.
All right.
Who left this open? Dummkopf.
Johnny? Okay.
Are you? Wait a minute, you lost that leg somewhere. Now I got to. That was me, Johnny. I slipped.
Be more careful.
Now I got him. Somebody at the door. Go quick. I manage here. Go quick.
Miss Abby? Miss Martha? Miss Abby? Miss Martha? Who is it? Is that you, Teddy? Who are you?
Who are you?
I'm Elaine Harper. I live next door.
And what are you doing here?
I came over to see Miss Abby and Miss Martha.
Doctor, turn on the lights. You chose rather an untimely moment for a social call.
I think you'd better explain what you're doing here.
We happen to live here.
You don't live here. I'm in this house every day, and I've never seen you before. Where are Miss Abby and Miss Martha? What have you done to them?
Perhaps we better introduce ourselves. This is Dr. Einstein,
Dr. Einstein.
a surgeon of great distinction and something of a magician.
And I suppose you're going to tell me you're Boris Karloff?
I'm Jonathan Brewster.
Oh, you're Jonathan.
I see you've heard of me.
Yes, just this afternoon for the first time.
And what did they say about me?
Only that there was another brother named Jonathan. Well, that explains everything now that I know who you are. I'll be running along. If you'll kindly unlock the door.
That explains everything? What did you mean by that? Why did you come at this time of night?
I thought I saw someone prowling around the house.
You thought you saw someone prowling around the house?
Yes, wasn't that you? Isn't that your car?
You saw someone at the car?
Yes.
What else did you see?
Just that. Just someone walking around the house to the car.
What else did you see?
Just that, that's all. I thought I'd come over and tell Miss Abby to call the police, but if that was you and that's your car, I don't need to bother Miss Abby. I'll be running along.
What was the man doing at the car?
I don't know. You see, I was on my way over here.
I think you're lying.
I think she tells the truth, Johnny. We let her go now, eh?
I think she's lying. She's too dangerous. She can't be let around loose.
Take your hands off me!
It's going to be a private funeral.
Teddy! Tell these men who I am!
That's my daughter, Alice.
Teddy!
Doctor, your handkerchief. The cellar.
What's the matter?
What's going on down there?
What's the matter?
We caught a burglar, a sneak thief. Go back upstairs.
Well, we'll call the police.
We've already called the police. Go back to your room.
Bates Theater. I should have known better. My God, I'm still there.
It's your brother Jonathan here.
I've come back home, Mortimer.
Who'd you say this was?
Your brother Jonathan, and this is Dr. Einstein.
Jonathan? You always were a whore. But did you have to look like one?
Easy, Johnny, easy.
Mortimer, do you remember the things I used to do to you when we were boys? Remember the time you were tied to the bedpost, the needles under your fingernails?
By God, it is Jonathan. Yes, I remember you. I remember you as the most detestable, vicious, venomous form of an animal I ever knew.
Now, don't you two boys start quarreling the minute you've seen each other.
There won't be any fight, Aunt Abby. Jonathan, you're not wanted here. Get out.
Dr. Einstein and I have been invited to stay.
Not in this house.
Well, for tonight, and it wouldn't be very nice to go back on our word.
All right, just for tonight. But first thing in the morning, out. Where are they sleeping?
We put them in Jonathan's old room.
No, that's my room. I'm sleeping there tonight. I'm here to stay.
Oh, Mortimer, I'm so glad.
Johnny, we sleep down here.
You bet your life you sleep down here.
You sleep on the sofa, and I sleep on the window seat.
The window seat? Oh, let's not argue about the window seat. The window seat's good enough for me tonight. I'll sleep on the window seat.
You know, Johnny, all this argument, it makes me think about Mr. Spinello.
Spinello! You know, Mortimer, it really isn't necessary to inconvenience you like this. We'll sleep down here.
Jonathan, your sudden consideration for me is very unconvincing.
Come on, Johnny, we get our things out of the room, eh?
No, Doctor, I've completely lost track of Mr. Spinello.
Who's this Mr. Spinalzo?
Just a friend of ours Johnny's been looking for.
Well, don't let anyone else in here.
Come on, Johnny, I tell you about the carpet pack.
Don't bother, Doctor.
Oh, Mortimer, you don't have to sleep down here. I could go in with Martha, and you could take my room.
It's no trouble, Aunt Abby. We'll be packed in a few minutes, and then Mortimer can have the room.
Don't worry about it. I told you I'm sleeping down here.
Mortimer,
What's the matter?
I've almost been killed.
You've almost been Abby, Martha.
Oh, no. It was Jonathan.
You mistook her for a sneak thief.
No, it was more than that. He's some kind of maniac. I'm afraid of him, Mortimer.
Why, darling, you're trembling. Have you got some smelling salts?
No, but do you think some tea or coffee?
Coffee. Make some for me, too. And some sandwiches. I've had a really long night.
I'll make some for the both of you.
You weren't going somewhere, were you? Do you realize what time it is? It's almost 12. 12! Elaine, you run along home.
What? No, remember, we're gonna go in and make you guys some sandwiches. We're gonna celebrate your engagement. That's what we'll do. We'll make a nice supper for the both of you, and we'll celebrate your engagement. I'll open a bottle of wine.
All right. No wine!
Mortimer, what's going on in this house?
What do you mean, what's going on in this house?
You were supposed to take me to dinner in the theater tonight, and you called it off. You asked me to marry you, I said I would, and 5 minutes later you throw me out of the house. Tonight, your brother tries to strangle me, and you want to chase me home. Now listen, Mr. Brewster, before I go home, I want to know where I stand. Do you love me?
Yes, Elaine, I love you. In fact, I love you so much, I can't marry you.
Have you suddenly gone crazy?
I don't think so, but it's just a matter of time. You see, insanity runs in my family. It practically gallops. That's why I can't marry you, dear.
Now you're gonna have to try better than that.
You see, there's a strange taint in the Brewster family blood. If you really knew my family, it's what you'd expect if Strindberg had written Hell's a Poppin'.
Now just because Teddy is a little.
No, it goes way back. Take the first Brewster, the one who came over on the Mayflower. You know, in those days, the Indians used to scout the settlers. Well, he used to scout the Indians.
Now Mortimer, that's ancient history.
And then there's my grandfather. He tried out his patent medicines on dead people to make sure he wouldn't kill them.
But he wasn't so crazy, he made $1 million.
And then there's Jonathan. You just said he was a maniac. He tried to kill you.
But he's your brother, not you. I'm in love with you.
And then there's Teddy. You know, Teddy. He thinks he's Roosevelt. No, dear. No Brewster should marry. I realize now that if I would have caught my father in time, I would have stopped him.
Now, Mortimer, all this doesn't mean you're crazy. Look at your aunts. They're Brewsters, aren't they? And the sanest, sweetest people I've ever known.
Well, even they have their peculiarities.
Yes, but what lovely peculiarities. Kindness, generosity, human sympathy.
There's another one!
Oh, Mortimer, there are plenty of others. You can't tell me anything about your aunts.
And I won't. You gotta run along home, Elaine.
Well, will you at least walk me home? I'm afraid.
Afraid? A little walk to the cemetery?
Mortimer, will you kiss me goodnight?
Of course. Now you run along home. I'll call you up tomorrow.
You critic.
And Abby and Martha, come in here.
We'll be in a minute, dear.
Come in here now.
Yes, dear, what is it?
You promised me you wouldn't let anyone in this house while I was gone.
Well, Jonathan just walked in.
I don't mean Jonathan.
Dr. Einstein was with him.
And I don't mean Dr. Einstein. Who's that in the window seat?
We told you, Mr. Hoskins.
It is not Mr. Hoskins.
Well, who could that be?
You're telling me you've never seen this man before?
I certainly am. Why, if he's come to be buried in our cellar, he's mistaken.
You just admitted to me that you put Mr. Hoskins in the window seat.
Yes, I did.
Well, he couldn't have just gotten the idea from Mr. Hoskins. By the way, where is Mr. Hoskins?
Oh, well, he must have gone to Panama.
Oh, you buried him.
No, not yet. He's just down there waiting. We haven't had any time with Jonathan in the house. Why, I've always wanted to hold a double funeral, but I will not read services over a total stranger.
A stranger, Aunt Abby. How can I believe you? You just admitted that there's 12 bodies in the cellar and you poisoned them.
Yes, I did, but you can't think that I'd stoop to tell him a fib. Now, Mortimer. Martha! Martha, get in here.
Oh, Mortimer, I'd like to have a word with you.
A word's about all you'll have time for, because first thing in the morning, you're getting out of here.
I'm glad you recognize the fact that we can't live under the same roof together, but you've arrived at the wrong solution. Take your suitcase and get out.
Jonathan, you're beginning to bore me. You've played your one-night stand in Brooklyn. Move on.
Just because you've graduated from the back fence to the typewriter, don't think you've grown up. I'm staying and you're leaving, and I mean now.
If you think there's anything I fear, if you think I could be frightened.
I lived a strange life, Mortimer, but it's taught me one thing, to be afraid of nothing.
Martha, Martha, just take a look at what's in the window seat.
Now,
Aunt Abby.
Jonathan, why don't you let Aunt Martha see what's in the window seat? And Aunt Abby, I owe you an apology, and I have some very good news for you. Jonathan's leaving, and he's taking Dr. Einstein and their cold companion with them. Jonathan, you're my brother, you're a Brewster, and I'm going to give you the chance to get away from here and take the evidence with you. You can't ask for more than that. All right? I'll have to call the police.
Don't reach for that telephone. Are you still giving me orders after seeing what's happened to Mr. Spinalzo?
Spinalzo?
I knew he was a foreigner.
Remember what happened to Mr. Spinalzo can happen to you too.
Well, who could that be? No, Officer O'Hara, come in.
Hello, Miss Abby. I thought there might be sickness in the house. I saw your lights on. Oh, you got company. I'm sorry to disturb.
No, come in.
Yes, come in.
Oh, come in, Officer O'Hara. This is our nephew, Mortimer.
Pleased to meet you.
And this is another nephew, Jonathan.
Pleased to make your acquaintance. Well, it must be nice having nephews to come visit you. Are they going to be staying with you for a bit?
I'm staying. My brother's just leaving.
I've met you here before, haven't I?
I'm afraid you haven't. Jonathan hasn't been home in years.
Your face looks familiar to me. Maybe I've seen a picture of you somewhere?
No, I don't think so.
Yeah, I'd hurry if I were you. All your bags are packed anyway, aren't they?
Well, you'll be waiting to say your goodbyes. I'll be running along.
No, what's the rush? I'd like you to stay until my brother goes.
I just stopped in to make sure everything was all right.
Well, we're going to have some coffee. Why don't you join us?
Oh, I forgot the coffee.
And I'll make more sandwiches. I ought to know your appetite by now, Officer O'Hara.
Oh, don't bother. I'm due to ring in a few minutes.
No, have some coffee with us. Sit down.
Say, ain't I seen a photograph of your brother around here someplace?
I don't think so.
He certainly reminds me of somebody.
Maybe someone you've seen in the movies.
Oh, I never go to the movies. I hate them. My mother says the movies is a bastard art.
Yeah, it's full of them. Your mother said that?
Yes, my mother was an actress, a stage actress. Perhaps you've heard of her. Peaches Latour.
Sounds like you know I've seen in a program somewhere. What'd she play?
Well, her big hit was Mutt and Jeff. She played it on tour for 3 years. I was born the 3rd season.
You were?
Yep, Sioux City, Iowa. I was born in the back of her dressing room at the end of the 2nd act, and Mother made the finale.
What a trooper. It's probably a good story in your mom. You know, I write about the theater.
You do? Say, you're not Mortimer Brewster, the dramatic critic.
Yeah.
Well, I certainly am glad to meet you. We're in the same line of business.
We are?
Yep, I'm a playwright. Oh, this being on the police force thing is just temporary.
Well, how long have you been on the force?
For 12 years. I'm collecting material for a play.
Oh, I bet it's a honey.
Well, it ought to be. With all the drama I see being a cop, you have no idea what goes on in Brooklyn.
Oh, I think I do.
Say, what time have you got?
10 after 1.
Gee, I gotta ring in.
Well, on that play of yours. I may be able to help you.
You would? Say, it was my fate walking in here tonight. Look, I'll tell you the plot.
You're going now, eh?
Well, everything's about ready. Oh, you're leaving, Jonathan? Well, goodbye. Goodbye, Dr. Einstein. Oh, wait, doesn't this case belong to you?
Yeah, you can't leave without all of your things. Officer O'Hara, you get going now. I'll meet up with you sometime. We'll talk about your play.
Oh, I'm not leaving now, Mr. Brewster.
Well, why not?
You just said you'd help me with my play. You and me are gonna write my play together.
But I'm not a creative writer.
I'll do the creating. You just put the words to it.
O'Hara.
No, sir, Mr. Brewster. I'm not leaving this house until I tell you the plot.
In that case, Mortimer, we'll be running along.
No, you can't leave without everything you know. Officer O'Hara, you run along. You gotta ring in.
I can wait. I've been waiting 12 years.
I'm sorry I was so long in the kitchen.
Don't bring that in here. Officer O'Hara, will you come in the kitchen for a bite to eat?
The kitchen?
Jonathan's leaving.
Oh, well, that's nice, dear. Come along, Officer O'Hara.
Are you sure you don't mind eating in the kitchen?
And where else would you eat?
Jonathan, I'm glad you came back to Brooklyn because it gives me another chance to throw you out. The first one out's your boyfriend, Mr. Spinalza.
Look, Mr. Brewster, we can talk in here.
All right, I'm coming right out.
I always knew you'd grow up trying to play with a policeman.
Get going now, all three of you.
Doctor, this affair between my brother and I has got to be settled.
Now, Shawnee, we got trouble enough. Your brother gives us a chance to get away. What more could you ask?
You don't understand. This goes back a good many years.
Now, Shawnee, let's get going.
Doctor, we're not going anywhere. We're staying here tonight.
With a cop in the kitchen and Mr. Spinalzo in the window seat?
That's all he's got on us. We'll dump Mr. Spinalzo in the bay and come back here. Then if they try to interfere...
Now, Shawnee...
Doctor, you know what? I've made up my mind.
Yeah, when you make up your mind, you lose your head. Brooklyn ain't a good place for you.
Take the bags back down in the cellar. We gotta move fast. Mr. Spinalzo can go out the way he came in.
Shawnee, come quick.
What?
You remember that hole down in the cellar?
Yes?
Now we've got an ace in the hole. Come on, I show you.
Jonathan! Jonathan! Jonathan!
Yes, Mortimer?
Where were you? I thought I told you to get.
We're staying right here.
Oh, you are? You think I'm not kidding about this? Do you want Officer O'Hara to see what's in the window seat?
We're not going anywhere.
All right, well, this gets me rid of you and Officer O'Hara at the same time. Officer O'Hara, come in here.
If you tell Officer O'Hara what's in the window seat, we'll tell her what's down in the cellar.
The cellar?
There's an elderly gentleman down there who appears to be very dead.
Well, what were you doing down in the cellar?
What's he doing down in the cellar?
No thanks, ma'am. They were fine. I've had plenty.
Now what are you going to say to Officer O'Hara?
Say, Mr. Brewster, your aunts want to hear it too. Should I get them in here?
No, you've got to go ring in.
Forget ringing in. I'll get them in here and I'll tell you the plot.
No, not in front of all these people. You go and ring in, and I'll meet up with you sometime.
Don't
How
you?
about the back room at Kelly's?
All right, that's fine. But you ring in on the way.
Don't you two want to see what's down in the cellar?
That's fine with me.
No,
That,
we're going to Kelly's, but you're gonna ring in on the way.
that'll only take a few minutes.
I'll ditch this guy, and I'll be back in 5 minutes. When I return, I hope to find you gone. Just wait for me.
We'll wait for him, Doctor. I've waited many years for a chance like this.
We got him right where we want him. Did he look guilty?
Take the bags back upstairs, Doctor.
Are they gone? Oh, we thought we heard somebody leave.
Just Mortimer. He'll be back in a few minutes. Get something for us to eat. I think Dr. Einstein and I would enjoy a bite.
You won't have any time. Mortimer doesn't want you to be here when he gets back.
Guess he won't like it.
He'll like it. He's got to like it.
Get something for us to eat while we bury Mr. Spinalzo in the cellar.
Oh, no.
Not in our cellar.
There's a friend of Mortimer's waiting for him.
Friend of Mortimer's.
He and Mr. Spinalzo will get along fine together. They're both dead.
I think he's speaking on Mr. Hoskins.
Mr. Hoskins?
Yes, but you can't bury your man in the cellar. We will not have our cellar desecrated. We won't have any strangers buried down with our gentlemen.
Your gentleman?
Yes. The other gentleman down there. We have 12 graves.
12 graves.
Yes, and that leaves very little room. And what we have, we're going to need.
You mean you and Martha have murdered?
Not murdered. No, it's one of our charities.
What we've been doing is a mercy.
But Mr. Hoskins.
Mr. Hoskins, he's one of our gentlemen.
So you two have done that in this house, and you've buried them down there.
Johnny, we've been chased all over the world. Your aunts stay right here in Brooklyn and do just as good as you do.
What?
You got 12, and they got 12.
I've got 13.
No, Johnny, 12.
No, 13. There's Mr. Spinalzo, the first one in London, the next two in Melbourne, the one in Paris, the one in Sydney, the two in San Francisco, the one in Phoenix,
Phoenix?
the filling station, 3 more in Chicago, and then the one in South Bend.
The one in South Bend don't count. He died of pneumonia.
He wouldn't have gotten pneumonia if I hadn't shot him first.
No, Johnny, he died of pneumonia. He don't count.
He counts with me. I say 13.
No, Johnny, you got 12, and they got 12. The old ladies are just as good as you are.
Oh, they are they? Well, that's easily taken care of. All I need is one more. Just one more.
Well, here I am.
You better stop doing that!
This is our house and this is our cellar, and you can't do that.
Ladies, please, go back upstairs where you belong.
Abby, Martha, go upstairs.
You better stop doing what you're doing because it's gonna have to be undone.
I tell you, we won't have it, and we better stop it right now.
That's it. We'll show you. We'll show you whose house this is.
You'd better stop it now. Hasn't Mortimer come back yet?
No,
Well, it's a terrible thing to do, to bury a good Methodist with a foreigner.
I will not have my cellar desecrated.
When do you suppose Mortimer will be back?
I'm not sure, but I think he's doing something. Because right before I left, he said to Jonathan, don't you? He's,
He can't settle anything when he's out of the house. That's all we want settled. What's going on down there?
All right, now where's Ted?
Mortimer, where have you been?
Over at Dr. Gilchrist. I had to get his signature on Teddy's commitment paper.
what do you think you're doing?
Running around getting papers signed at a time like this?
Do you know what Jonathan's doing?
He's trying to put Mr. Hoskins and Mr. Spinalzo in together.
Oh, he is he? Well, let him. Is Teddy in his room?
Teddy won't be any help.
Once he signs these papers, I can tackle Jonathan.
Well, what have they got to do with this?
Well, you had to go tell Jonathan about the 12 graves, and if I could somehow make Teddy responsible, I can protect you, don't you see?
No, I don't see. And we pay taxes to have the police protect us.
I'll be down in a minute.
Well, come, Martha, we're going to the police.
All right. The police? You can't go to the police!
And why not?
Because if you tell the police about Mr. Spinalzo, they'll find Mr. Hoskins too. And that'll make them curious, and they'll find the other 12 gentlemen.
Well, I don't think the police would pry into our private affairs if we asked them not to.
But if they find the bodies, they'll have to report to headquarters.
I'm not so sure they'll do that because they'll have to write a really long report. And if there's one thing officers hate to do, it's to write.
You can't depend on that. It might leak out, and you can't expect a judge and jury to understand.
Judge Coleman would.
Oh, yes, we know him very well. He's promised to come to tea soon.
Oh yes, Abby, we should really speak to him about that. Ever since his wife has died a few years ago, it's left him ever so lonely.
Yes. Oh, well, come. We're going to the police.
No, you can't do that. You can't leave this house, and you can't have Judge Coleman to tea.
Why not?
You just can't. Well, I gotta do this my own way. I've gotta go see Teddy. And get out of those clothes. You look like Amy Montgomery.
We need to speak to Jonathan about what he's doing down there. Jonathan, you might as well stop what you're doing now.
It's already done. Did I hear Mortimer?
Well, it'll just have to be undone.
Good night, aunties.
Yes, Abby, let's go to bed.
You'll be out of this house by morning. Mortimer's promised.
And he has a way of doing it too.
Then Mortimer's back?
Oh, yes. You'll see Mortimer.
Perhaps you better say goodbye to Mortimer.
No, you'll see Mortimer.
Oh, I'll see Mortimer.
Goodbye, Jonathan.
Goodbye, Jonathan.
Phew.
That's all fixed up. Smooth like a lake. Nobody'd ever know they were down there. That bed feels good already. 48 hours we didn't sleep. Come on, Johnny, let's go up, yes?
You're forgetting, Doctor.
What?
My brother Mortimer?
Johnny, tonight? We do that tomorrow or the next day.
No, tonight, now.
Johnny, please, I'm tired, and tomorrow I got to operate.
Yes, you're operating tomorrow, but tonight we take care of Mortimer.
But Johnny, not tonight. We do that tomorrow.
Doctor, you can see that this will be done, can't you?
Ah, Johnny, I can see. I know that look.
It's a little too late for us to dissolve our partnership.
Okay, we do it. But the quick way. The quick twist like in London.
No. No, I think this calls for something special. I think perhaps the Melbourne method.
No, Johnny, not that. 2 hours, and when it was all over, what? The fellow in London was just as dead as the fellow in Melbourne.
We had to work too fast in London. There was no aesthetic satisfaction. But Melbourne, that was something to remember.
Remember? I wish I didn't. No, Johnny, not Melbourne, not me.
Doctor, where are your instruments?
I won't do it, Johnny. I won't do it.
Get your instruments.
No, Johnny.
You put them in the cellar. Where?
I won't tell you.
I'll find them.
Don't do that, Mr. President.
But I have to alert the cabinet if I'm to sign any proclamation.
What, this must be signed in secret?
A secret proclamation? How unusual.
Japan mustn't know until it's signed.
Japan! I'll sign it right away.
Yeah, let's go do it.
I have to go put on my signing clothes.
Ah, you go now, eh?
No, I'm waiting on something important.
Please, you go now.
Doctor, I have nothing against you personally, and you seem to be a nice fellow, but will you take my advice and get as far away from here as possible?
Trouble, yeah? You get out.
Don't say I didn't warn you.
I'm warning you. Get away quick.
Things are gonna start popping around here.
Listen, Johnny's in a bad mood. When he's like this, things happen. Terrible things.
Jonathan doesn't worry me right now.
Ah, Jaimel, don't those plays you see teach you anything?
About what?
Well, at least people in the plays act like they got sense. That's more than you do.
Oh, you think so, do you? You think people in plays act intelligently? I wish you had to sit through some of the ones I had to sit through. Take the little opus I saw tonight, for example. In this play, there's a fellow, supposed to be bright. He knows he's in a house with murderers. He ought to know he's in trouble. The murderers even ask him to leave. They warn him. But does he go? No. He stays there. Now I ask you, is that what an intelligent person would do?
You're asking me?
He didn't even have a sense to be frightened, to be on guard. For instance, the murderer even asked him to sit down.
You mean... Won't you sit down?
Believe it or not, that was in there too.
And what did he do?
He sat down. Now mind you, this fellow's supposed to be bright. He just sat there waiting to be trussed up. And what do you think they tied him up with?
What?
The curtain cord.
The curtain cord? A good idea. Very convenient.
A little too convenient. When are playwrights going to start using some imagination? The curtain cord.
He didn't see him get it?
See him? He has back to him the whole time. Now this is what we have to suffer through night after night. And they say the critics are killing the theater. No, it's the playwrights who are killing the theater. So there he is, the big dope, sitting there, this fellow who's supposed to be bright, just waiting to be trussed up and gagged. What?
Now, Mortimer, I think we'll finish the story. Yes, I've been away for 20 years, but in all that time, you were never out of my mind. In Melbourne, one night, I dreamed of you. When I landed in San Francisco, I felt a strange satisfaction. Once again, I was in the same country as you. Now, Doctor, we go to work.
Please, Johnny, for me. The quick way.
All ready for you, Doctor?
I got to have a drink. I can't do this without a drink.
Pull yourself together, Doctor.
When we walked in here this afternoon, there was wine here, remember? Where did she put that? Look, Johnny, we got a drink. That's all there is. I split it with you. We both need a drink.
Doctor, where are your manners? After all, we're performing before a very distinguished critic.
Yes, Mortimer. I now know. It was you who brought me back to Brooklyn. Doctor, to my dear dead brother.
Ah, God.
Damn that idiot! That's it! He goes next! Teddy goes next!
No, Charlie. No, I stopped there. Not Teddy.
We get to Mortimer later. We get to Teddy later. Mortimer goes now.
Yeah, Charlie, the quick way, eh?
Yes, Doctor, the quick way.
Hey, the girl's gotta quit blowing that horn.
It's all right, officer. We're taking it away from him.
We told the neighbors he wouldn't do that anymore. There's going to be hell to pay in the morning.
It won't happen again.
I better talk to him myself. Where are the lights? Hey, you stood me up. I waited at Kelly's an hour for you. What happened to him?
He was explaining the play he saw tonight. That's what happened to the fellow in the play.
That's what happened in the play you saw? Well, gee, they practically stole that from the second act of my play. You see, in my second act, just before I'd better begin at the beginning. It opens in my mother's dressing room where I was born. Only, I ain't born yet. Oh, yeah. No, you've got to hear the plot. There she is, making up, see? When all of a sudden, into the door comes a man with a black mustache. He turns to my mother and says, Miss Latour, will you marry me? He doesn't know she's pregnant. There she is, lying unconscious across the table in her lingerie. A man sitting over her with a hatchet. And I'm tied up in a chair just like you are. The place is an inferno of flames. It's on fire. When all of a sudden, in through the window, comes Mayor LaGuardia. Hey, remember who paid for that? Go easy on it.
I'm listening, ain't I?
How do you like it so far?
Will it put Charlie to sleep?
Let him alone. If he ain't got no more interest in that, he don't get a drink. All right, so it's 3 days later. I've been transferred and I'm under charges. That's because somebody stole my badge. All right, so I'm walking my beat on Staten Island, 46th precinct. And the man I'm following, it turns out, is really following me. Don't let anybody in. So I figure I'll outsmart him. There's a vacant house on the corner. I goes in.
It's cops.
I stand there in the dark and I see the door handle turn.
Charlie, it's cops. Cops.
I braces myself against the wall and I pull my gun and I say, come in. Hello, boys.
What the heck's going on in here?
What do you know? This is Mortimer Brewster. He's gonna write my play. I must tell him the story.
Did you have to tie him up to make him listen? Joe, you better report into the station. The whole force is out looking for you.
They sent you here for me? We didn't know you was here.
We came to warn the old ladies that there's going to be heck to pay. The Colonel blew his bugle in the middle of the night.
With the way the neighbors have been calling in, you think the Germans have dropped a bomb at Flatbush Avenue.
Lieutenant has to be locked up someplace.
Yeah.
Gee, Mr. Brewster, I've got to get away. So I just went to the third act real quick.
No, get away from me.
Say, do you know what time it is? It's after 8 o'clock in the morning.
It is. Gee, Mr. Brewster, those first two acts, they run a little long, but I don't see anything we can leave out.
You can leave it all out.
Who's this?
That's my brother.
The one that ran away, so he came back?
Yeah, he came back.
This is Brophy, get me Mac. Joe, I'll let them know we found you. Mac, tell the lieutenant to call off the big manhunt. We have him here in the Brewster household. You want us to bring him in? Oh, all right. Lieutenant's on his way over.
So I've been turned in, eh? I suppose you and that stool-pigeon brother of mine will split the reward.
The reward?
Now I'll do some turning in. My aunts have 13 bodies buried in the cellar.
Teddy!
What the hell are you talking about?
Don't you want to see what's down in the cellar? 13 bodies.
Wait a minute.
Don't you want to see what's down in the cellar?
Why don't you go down in the cellar with him, Abe? I don't want to go down there with him. Look at him. He looks like Boris Karloff. What the hell are you doing? Get him off me! Well, wait, look at that.
What the hell are you doing? I told you I was gonna handle
happened? Did he put up a fight?
This isn't the fellow that blows the bugle. This is his brother.
Turn him over.
We kind of think he's wanted somewhere.
Oh, you kinda think he's wanted somewhere.
He wanted us to go down in the basement with him.
Well, he did say there was 13 bodies down there.
13 bodies in the cellar. That didn't tip you off he came from the nut house?
I thought all along he talked kind of crazy.
Oh, it's Shakespeare. Where have you been all night? You didn't bother to tell me?
I've been right here, writing my play with Mortimer Brewster.
Well, now you have lots of time to write the play. Get back. You're suspended.
Can I come by sometime and use the station typewriter?
No! Go back. Take this guy somewhere and wake him up. See what you can find out about his accomplice. The guy who helped him? Yeah, he's wanted too. No wonder Brooklyn's in the shape it's in with a police force full of flatheads like you. Falling for a story like that? 13 bodies in the cellar?
But there are 13 bodies in the cellar.
And who are you?
I'm President Roosevelt.
The hell is this?
That's the fellow that blows the bugle.
Well, Colonel, you've blown your last bugle.
Dear me, is that another yellow fever victim?
What?
No,
The other 13 are yellow fever victims.
no, Colonel. This is a spy we caught in the White House.
Will you get that guy out of here?
You're forgetting, as President of the United States, I'm also in charge of the questioning of spies.
You stay out of this.
But as head of the Secret Service, I get to go with them.
Hello, Captain. I'm Mortimer Brewster.
Are you sure?
I came to talk to you about my brother, the one who blew the bugle.
We ain't gonna talk about that. He's gotta be put away.
I quite agree with you. In fact, it's all arranged. I got the papers signed by Dr. Gilchrist, our family physician, and Tyson signed them himself, and I've signed as next of kin. Now, I just want you to know that everything that's going on around here, Teddy's responsible for. There's 13 bodies in the cellar.
Yeah, those 13 bodies in the cellar. Ain't enough that the neighbors are all afraid of him and him disturbing the peace with that bugle, but you could imagine what would happen if that cockeyed story about 13 bodies in the cellar got around. Now he's starting a yellow fever scare. Cute, ain't it?
Yeah, 13 bodies. Think anyone will believe that story?
Well, you can't tell. Some people are just dumb enough. You don't know what to believe sometimes. About a year ago, this crazy guy started to murder rumor over in Greenpoint, and I had to dig up a half-acre lot just to prove that there wasn't a single body down there.
Good afternoon, Mortimer.
Good afternoon, Elaine.
This is Mrs. Witherspoon. She's come to meet Teddy.
To meet Teddy.
Mrs. Witherspoon's the superintendent of Happydale.
Oh, right. Come on in. Mrs. Witherspoon, this is Captain.
Lieutenant Rooney. Glad you're here, Super, because you're taking him back with you today.
Today? I didn't know that.
Not today.
You run along home, Elaine.
Nuts.
I had no idea it was immediate.
Yep, the papers are all signed, and he's going today.
Complete insubordination! You men will find I am no mollycoddle when people treat the president like this. What is this country coming to?
There's your man, Super.
Just give me a minute. Mr. President, I have some very good news for you. Your term of office is over.
It's March the 4th already?
Practically.
Well, let's see. What do I do now? Ah, yes, now I go on my hunting trip to Africa. Is he trying to move in already to the White House?
Who?
Taft!
That's not Taft, Teddy. That's Mrs. Witherspoon. She's to be your guide in Africa.
Nice to meet you, Witherspoon. I'll go get my things. When the safari comes, tell them to wait. Goodbye, Aunt Abby. Goodbye, Aunt Martha. I'm going to Africa. Isn't it wonderful? Charge!
Good morning, Nancy's.
Good morning. Oh, we have visitors?
This is Lieutenant Rooney.
Well, how do you do, Lieutenant Rooney? My, you don't look like the fuss budget the policemen say you are.
And you haven't met Mrs. Witherspoon. She's the superintendent of Happydale.
Oh, Mrs. Witherspoon, how do you do?
You've come to meet Teddy?
She's come to take Teddy.
Teddy blew his bugle again last night, and the police want him to go tonight.
Oh, we're going to speak to him about blowing his bugle.
It's a little bit more serious than that, Miss Brewster.
Oh, you're still here? Stick around.
Oh, don't worry, I'm going to.
Well, why didn't you come down in the cellar?
I don't think Lieutenant wants to go down to the cellar. You know, she was just telling me that this last year she had to dig up a half-acre lot. Weren't you, Lieutenant?
That's right.
Well, you wouldn't have to dig here. The graves are all marked. We put flowers on them every Sunday.
Flowers? Superintendent, don't you think you could find a spot for them at Happy Dale?
Well,
You come along with us, we'll show you the grave.
I don't think she wants to go down there.
Can we go to Happy Dale with Teddy?
Yeah, why not?
You'd have to be committed.
Well, Teddy committed himself. Can't they commit themselves? Can't they go to Happy Dale?
Why, certainly.
Yes, we'll sign the papers. Where are they?
Yes, where are they?
Well, come around, Lieutenant.
Oh, Officer Klein, are you here too?
Yes, I am. We have your other nephew in the kitchen.
If you'll sign right here.
And you here, Aunt Abby?
Well, I really can't wait to go. The neighborhood here has changed so much.
Just think about it. A front lawn again.
Oh, we're overlooking something.
What?
Well, we're gonna need the signature of a doctor.
Oh, Dr. Einstein, come here. I need you to sign some papers.
Please, I must go.
No, just sign these papers. At one time last night, I thought the doctor was going to operate on me. Here, sign right here.
Aren't you gonna wait for Jonathan?
I don't think he and I are going to the same place.
You should stay, Elaine.
Oh, I will.
So does that make everything complete, everything legal?
Yep.
Now, Aunties, you're safe.
Hey, Mac, it's Rooney. We picked up that guy that's wanted in Indiana. Can you read us a description of his accomplice? 6'1", dark hair, blue eyes, big ears, talks with a German accent, poses as a doctor. Thank you.
Don't worry, Lieutenant. The doctor here just completed all the signatures.
Thanks, Doc. You're really doing Brooklyn a service.
So, Mr. Brewster, you sign here as next of kin.
All right. Now is everything complete?
Yep.
Okay. Now you're safe.
When do you think you'll be ready to start?
Well, why don't you go up and tell Teddy what exactly we can take along?
Up there?
I'll show you.
Oh, no, Mortimer. You stay here. We need to speak with you. Yes, just upstairs to the right.
Should we sit down?
Yes.
All right.
Elaine, if you would join us. Now that we're leaving, this house really is yours.
Yes, we want you to live here.
No, this house is too full of memories.
Oh, but you'll need a house for when you and Elaine are married.
Now, darling, that's very indefinite.
Oh, darlings, it's nothing of the kind. We're going to get married right away.
Teddy, Mortimer, we're very worried about something.
What? You're gonna love it at Happy Dale.
See, we're very happy about going to Happy Dale. That's just it. We don't want anything to go wrong.
No. Do you think they'll investigate the signatures?
They won't investigate Dr. Einstein's signature.
It's not his signature we're worried about, dear.
You see, you signed as next of kin.
Yeah, why not?
Well, Mortimer, it's something we never wanted to tell you, but now that you're a man, we think Elaine ought to know. You see, you're not really a Brewster.
You see, your mother came to us as a cook, and 3 months later you were born. And she was such a wonderful woman and such a wonderful cook, we didn't want to lose her. So, brother married her.
I'm not really a Brewster?
Now, don't be too bothered by it, dear.
And Elaine, it won't mean anything.
Elaine, do you hear? Do you understand? I'm a bastard!
Well, I ought to get breakfast ready.
Oh, don't worry. Mortimer's coming to my house to have breakfast.
Yeah, I've had quite a night.
Well, I'm sure you'd want to get to bed.
Oh, I do.
Abby.
Thanks for helping us.
Oh, one moment, Witherspoon. I'll be down in a second.
I won't need no car. My wagon's out front.
Oh, Jonathan, are you leaving?
Yep, there's some people in Indiana who want to take care of him for the rest of his life.
Well, I'm glad you have someplace to go.
We're leaving too.
We're going to Happy Dale.
This house really is seeing the last of the Brewsters.
Not if Mortimer wants to live here.
I have a suggestion to make. Why don't you turn this property over to the church?
Oh, well, we never thought of that.
After all, it should be part of the cemetery.
All right, get going. I'm busy wandering.
Well, aunties, I can't better my record now, but neither can you. At least I have that satisfaction. The score stands even, 12 to 12.
Jonathan always was a madman. Couldn't stand to see anybody get ahead.
Yes, I wish we could show him he isn't so smart. Oh, Mrs. Witherspoon. Do you have any family at Happydale?
I have no family.
Oh, well, don't you consider everyone at Happydale your family?
I'm afraid you don't quite understand. As head of the institution, I have to keep quite aloof.
Well, that must get very lonely.
It does, but my duty is my duty.
Well,
Won't you sit down?
would you like some of our wine?
We make it ourselves. It's elderberry.
Elderberry wine? Why, yes, of course. At Happydale, our relationship will be much more formal. But here, you don't see elderberry wine nowadays. I thought I'd have my last glass of it at my husband's funeral.
Oh, no.
Here it is.